for Onesimus, in which Paul assured Philemon of the good Christian ministry and new personality of Onesimus, and in which he pleaded that the reunion be more like that of two Christians than that of a slave and his master. Paul asked that any outstanding debt that Onesimus owed Philemon be charged to the apostle's account. PHM 12-22. Incidentally, in the letter to the Colossians that Onesimus and Tychicus were carrying, Paul dealt with the Christian principles governing the relationship of slave and master. Col 3. 22. 4. 1. Onesiphorus on (e) Rus prophet bearer. A Christian referred to in Paul's second letter to Timothy. 2t4. 19. In contrast with others in the district of Asia who turned away from Paul, Onesiphorus remained a loyal supporter and, when in Rome, diligently hunted to find Paul in spite of the risk to himself. He was not ashamed of Paul's prison bonds, but rendered the apostle good service, as he had done in Ephesus. Paul greatly appreciated this loyalty and prayed that Onesiphorus and his household would receive of Jehovah's mercy. 2t1. 15-18. The fact that Paul sent greetings to the household of Onesiphorus rather than to Onesiphorus himself 2t4. 19 does not necessarily indicate that he was no longer alive, though such might be true. He may simply have been away from his family at the time, or may even be included in the general greeting sent to his household of believers. Onion Heb. Ba. A strong tasting bulb best biennial having slender tuber-like leaves. The onion alimspa was one of the items of diet for which the mixed crowd and the Israelites yearned in the wilderness after being liberated from Egypt. New 11. 4, 5 In that land of Israel's captivity, onions were extensively cultivated. The Greek historian Herodotus 125 even tells of an inscription that listed onions among the foods provided for the laborers on a certain Egyptian pyramid. In Egypt, onions, usually tied together in a bundle, were offered to the deities, although the priests were not permitted to eat them. The onions of Egypt have been described as soft, and therefore more easily digestible than other varieties, as well as sweet-tasting rather than sharp, or acrid. Only begotten. The Greek word genes is defined by lexicographers as single of its kind, only, or the only member of a kin or kind. Thayer's Greek-English Lexicon of the New Testament, 1889, p. 417. Liddell and Scott's Greek-English Lexicon, Oxford, 1968, p. 1144. The term is used in describing the relation of both sons and daughters to their parents. The scriptures speak of the only begotten son of a widow who lived in the city of Nain, of Jairus' only begotten daughter, and of a man's only begotten son whom Jesus cured of a demon. Luke 7. 11, 12. 8. 41, 42. 9. 38. The Greek Septuagint uses nes when speaking of Jephthah's daughter, concerning whom it is written. Now she was absolutely the only child. Besides her he had neither son nor daughter. JG 11. 34. The Apostle John repeatedly describes the Lord Jesus Christ as the only begotten Son of God. Joe 1. 14. 3. 16, 18. 1 Joe 4. 9. This is not in reference to his human birth or to him as just the man Jesus. As the Logos, or Word, this one was in the beginning with God, even before the world was. Joe 1. O texto e acute miritra longo, OFL 557 properly described as the only begotten God gr. Mo ge os. Joe 1. 18, NW, Ro, SP. A few translations, in support of the Trinitarian God the Son concept, would invert the phrase mo ge os and render it as God only begotten. But W. J. Hickey in his Greek-English Lexicon to the New Testament 1956, p. 123 says it is hard to see why these translators render mo genes hu os as the only begotten Son, but at the same time translate mo ge os as God only begotten, instead of the only begotten God. Paul referred to Isaac as Abraham's only begotten son. Heb 11. 17. even though Abraham also fathered Ishmael by Hagar as well as several sons by Keturah. GE 16. 15. 25. 1, 2. 1 ch 1. 28, 32. God's covenant, however, was established only through Isaac, Abraham's only son by God's promise, as well as the only son of Sarah. GE 17. 16-19. Furthermore, at the time Abraham offered up Isaac, he was the only son in his father's household. No sons had yet been born to Keturah, and Ishmael had been gone for some 20 years. No doubt was married and head of his own household. GE 22. 2. So from several viewpoints in regard to the promise and the covenant, the things about which Paul was writing to the Hebrews, Isaac was Abraham's only begotten son. Hence, Paul parallels the promises and the only begotten son with your seed through Isaac. Heb 11. 17, 18. Whether Josephus had a similar viewpoint or not, he too spoke